In the last video, we created our very first site with Dreamweaver. And as you can see here, up at the top, it says My First Site. And that's just great. But before we move on to anything else, I want to give you an example of how the site management window can be really useful to you. In order to do so, I'm just going to click onto a separate test site that I had created a little while ago. Now, if you don't have one, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Once we get a little bit further on into our lesson, you'll be able to examine exactly how this is going to work for you as well. But in this case, I just want to illustrate exactly how this is going to be advantageous. And you'll notice in the Killer Sites test site that I've created right here, it's got that same test folder that I've been working with in the past couple of videos. When you want to open up one of these files, all you really need to do is double-click on the icon. And as you can see here, double-clicking on this index.html page opens up that same file that we were looking at just a second ago. As you can see, it's got some simple information. I'm going to just collapse this a little bit here so you can see it a little bit better. And I want to show you what's happening in the code view. You can see that we've got some very simple information here in the HTML side of this. And you'll also notice that there are links to specific files that we are working with. For example, there's a link here to the CSS folder, and in the CSS folder there's a file called style.css. It's pretty easy to see in your Files menu as you open up the CSS folder that we have here in our root structure, and you'll see style.css. What's really useful about working with this files management system is that you can go about changing the names of specific elements, and Dreamweaver will do something beautiful for you. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say, for example, you wanted to add some other CSS styles or something along those lines, and you can do that later on. But let's imagine that we wanted to rename this. Now, if you were working with something outside of a site management window that we have in Dreamweaver, for example, a simple text editor, just merely changing the name of a file in a folder is going to wreak havoc with your website. Basically, because all the pages in this particular website, although there only happens to be one, but let's imagine there were 10 of them, all linked to the same style.css file. If I was to collapse this and just go onto my folder on my desktop and come in here and go about changing the name of the file right here, that would be really dangerous, because what you're going to be doing in that situation is changing the name of the file, but you're going to be destroying the links that are on these HTML pages. A way to get around that is working inside of Dreamweaver and the files management window that we have here. So let's say I wanted to change style.css to a different name like main.css. Well, you could do so by either right-clicking or just by clicking on it once. You'll notice if you click on it once, nothing's going to happen. But then if you click on it again, it'll access the ability to change the name. So if I come in here and I say main.css, and let's just look, in the HTML we're linking to style.css. So as soon as I link out, Dreamweaver is going to give you a little update files window here. And it'll say, update the links on the following files, index.html. If I did have 10 other pages, it would list all of those pages as well. Now, what this is saying is, if I don't update this, the link to the CSS file will be broken, and the CSS won't be styling this page the way we want it to. However, what Dreamweaver is asking is to say, hey, if you like, I'll update these links for you and rename all of the links that you have in your work. So I'm going to say, yes, Dreamweaver, please, where you've been all my life, of course, update those links. So I click on this and check it out. Look how wonderful this is. Inside the HTML, CSS/main.css has replaced the previous link that we had. And you'll notice in our file management window, we have main.css here. If we look at the design view, everything is still working just great. If I were to go back to the folder that's on my desktop, you'll see that even here in the folder, main.css has been changed. So that's a really great way of working. And the file management window allows you to take advantage of any of these little changes that you need to make. If I wanted to change images and image names, it would always update if we want it to. So this is something that's really important and something that I suggest you take advantage of when working in Dreamweaver.